Bruh. Bruh. What is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario. I just finished watching the Sony 2015 E3 press conference maybe 30 seconds ago. Had the mic hooked up, started recording in here, and in case you don't know, you don't have to watch the other press conference videos I have, and if you do, that'd be fantastic. But every year since 2012, what I've done is with the big three, I normally, and by that I mean Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, after watching their conferences, I go back and I do a large kind of in-depth overview and review with my thoughts over the conferences. And this year, I decided to do it a little bit of a different way. Normally, I record myself. This time, I didn't feel like doing it just because it's slightly easier this way. The audio is actually going to be better, and at the same time, I have a ton of gameplay footage that I need to burn through, so it's perfect for my hard drive and everything else, but wow. Wow. I thought that Xbox conference was good, and it was still good. But man, let's get into this Sony conference, okay? So if you hear me clicking around and all that, it's because I have a note sheet, well, essentially in Word, that I write everything in, or type everything in, so you're going to hear me moving around on that. But this is essentially how it all went down. So first off, you have the Sony E3, intro and all that, that I love what Sony does with their screens. What they always do is they combine a bunch of screens and they turn them into one. They'll have multiple screens for things. They'll have one giant screen, whatever it is. They had a big compilation, like music video type thing with several big games. I saw Uncharted, Mad Max, Destiny, Kingdom Hearts was on there as well too. Then the first guy goes on stage once that all's done. And he actually acknowledged, I forgot about this, but some of you all watching might have even done this. I did not know that in select theaters, well, I forgot that in select theaters, they do show the Sony conference, so that would have been cool to go to, but he acknowledged, everyone who was watching it at home streaming like myself, or they were watching it in theaters, and they were talking about, the creativity coming from engineers and all that for these new games, and they want to bring familiar and new games that take advantage of the PlayStation 4's technology. They really push that they care about the gamers and games, and that developers are going to matter, and they want to have the best entertainment experience available, and they're saying they want a historic evolution in gaming. Like, that's what we're seeing right now, and I mean, they're pretty right on some stuff. So some of you might or might not have seen my E3 2015 wish list, and I'll say this, I was utterly shocked, completely shocked, that several things on that wish list got crossed off, and one of them is The Last Guardian. They started with The Last Guardian, and they said, this is a long-anticipated game that you all have been waiting for. People started cheering. People already knew what was going to happen. They're saying, and the more this guy talked about it, the more people were screaming in the auditorium, and he was saying this is a adventure about friendship and heroism and companionship. It's been long-awaited. It was only on PlayStation. Even talking about it is giving me goosebumps right now, but I got goosebumps with the first footage. And it shows, an environment a lot like what was shown in Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. And if you have not played those games, my God, you need to play them. Eco was a part of my childhood, and Shadow of the Colossus I just started and finished this year. Both are absolutely phenomenal, fantastic, just legendary minimalist games out there. And they're so great. There's a reason why The Last Guardian has been so hyped up. But it has the exact same art style as those two games, and it's almost a combination of the two games. You have all the mechanics you see from like climbing up all the monsters and all that in Shadow of the Colossus. It acts the same way, and then you have the kid who is like yelling commands and everything just like in Eco. And you have this giant creature who's your best friend, and the thing is so cute. It's like a combination between like a cat and a dog and a giant fox and like all these other things. It was adorable. It really was. And just watching this game, I attribute it to, almost like watching your younger sibling growing up. Like, you have a younger sibling and you hadn't seen them in years, and then you see them and they're doing so well, and it was awesome. It was so great, and you could tell there was so much work that was put into this game. The developers really cared about it, and Sony has been saying, because it was supposed to come out on PS3, and it didn't come out on PS3, and they've been saying, when it's done, or when it's ready, it will be released and all that, but it shows, as I said, you can climb the animal, you can utilize anything there, and even though you're only controlling one character, the best way to explain this game for anyone who hasn't played anything like it, it's almost like a single-player co-op game, in a way. Not like Brothers, though. If you all have checked out Brothers, you literally control both. You like split the controller in half and control one brother with each half. It's really cool. But essentially, like, even the dog, like, the whole, like, dog thing, it was just, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because even, like, at the end, essentially, the whole thing was you're trying to cross a bridge, and then your animal is trying to help you and all that, and as he does, it's like a 5-minute thing, and at the end, he's just, like, sitting there, and he starts scratching his ears and all that, just like a dog or a cat or a guinea pig or something. It was a beautiful, perfect demo. It really was, and it's coming in 2016, and I'm so excited for that. Next thing, Shuhei Yoshida came out, and he said that he cannot be happier standing here today, and that he's been waiting so long to show The Last Guardian. He confirmed that it was on PS4, and he even gave the creative director of The Last Guardian a standing ovation. He had him stand up in the audience, and people were cheering, and as the audience died down, someone even screamed, "I love you!" at the end of the auditorium. People were just busting out laughing. Now, the next game I would not have expected from this company at all. It's by Guerrilla Games. You know, they're very well known for the Killzone series. And they said they wanted to leave behind the comfortable and familiar to explore new horizons. And they show this visually stunning, rich in color game called Horizon Zero Dawn. It's extremely post-apocalyptic. It almost takes you like back to the Stone Age in some way. And the best way I could describe it, it's not like there was a zombie apocalypse or an alien infestation or anything like that. It's essentially if one day all of the power in the world got cut out. And you see what happens years and years later where you go back to tribes and everything, but you still see all these buildings that have been taken in by nature. And it was stunning. I couldn't believe it. It was just amazing. It was a beautiful sight to see. But story-wise, it looks excellent. You see the land changing and everything, and it perfectly shows a very realistic, post-apocalyptic world. Now, they've even said, this is a dangerous balance between man and machine. That's what they were quoting on there. But then, even when they did the whole introduction, all that, they went from cutscene to gameplay seamlessly. Like, you couldn't notice in between. It was crazy. There was no visual downgrade or anything like that. And essentially, it was centered around this chick who had to go in, and she was using stealth mechanics and all that, so she was hunting down this machine. There were, like, some little machines that she was able to stealthily get. Then there was just this big, giant, like, 4-legged machine-type monster animal thing, and it looked a lot like, some of the things that you battle in Shadow of the Colossus, which is kind of funny because it came, right after The Last Guardian. But essentially, it's just like this little mini boss fight. She destroys the thing, and that's really all it is. It looks like an excellent game so far, honestly. I really want to play that too. I'm not a fan of the Killzone series, honestly. I've tried it so many times. Not a fan of it, but I think they're doing the right thing doing this. This looks like a fantastic, different approach to a game that they're doing, and it looks like a great original IP. Next up, they're doing a reboot of Hitman called Hitman. And they didn't even say what it was exactly, but it was a Square Enix game, and you could tell because they said 47. It looked cool. It seemed interesting. I'm not a Hitman fan, and again, this was a CGI trailer. When it comes to games, CGI trailers can be cool, don't get me wrong, but I would rather see a gameplay trailer over a CGI trailer. But they claim that this is the most ambitious Hitman ever created, and have you noticed that right after the Xbox conference, like the Xbox conference, they were saying that all the time, and now that's like the new thing to say. That's like the new buzzword, the most ambitious game. But anyways, this is going to be on console and on PC, and if you're on PlayStation, you are going to get the beta first if you pre-order the game, and there's also going to be 6 unique contracts for the PS4 player. So exclusive stuff, but hey, you know what? If you're on PS4, it works out, but you're going to see a lot of that recurring here soon. Next up, Street Fighter V. They show that it is going to be console exclusive to the PlayStation 4. Now, it won't be only on PS4, but it's going to be on PC and PlayStation 4. Now, again, this was kind of a gameplay, I guess kind of a CGI trailer. I don't know, like it seemed, I'm pretty sure it was gameplay, but they heavily changed it and all that too. It looks great, very fast-paced. I laughed because there was PlayStation ads in the back, like in the background of the arenas they were fighting in. But if you pre-order the game, again, you get beta access. So for anybody wanting to know that, as I said, it comes out on PS4 and PC. So if you want that beta, pre-order it on PS4. Very short trailer, and they said that the exclusive PS4 beta will be coming out July 23rd. Now, next up, No Man's Sky. They presented at E3 last year, and the developer came out, and one of the developers came out and even said, last year, I was showing you this game, and this year, I guess I just wanted to show you how it plays. So, you see just like a neon paradise, neon color gasm all over the world, and this character gets into his spaceship, and then they show the universe sandbox itself. This is just a giant universe piled on universes, and it's just insanely limitless, showing how big this universe was. Like, I can't even describe it, but essentially, he even tried a risky move. You know, most of the time for these demos where they show on stage, they're like pre-recorded, all this other stuff, and everything is pre-done like to a T, so nothing messes up. He decided to go somewhere he had never been before. So he even said, you know, there's tons of universes here and tons of planets and stars and areas that people have never been to, and people will probably never go to many of them. But he said, you know, he's going to do something really stupid. He goes to a planet that nobody's been to, an undiscovered solar system and all that. And it almost looks like it could be Interstellar the game, which is hilarious. But every planet is fully destructible, and it looked so great. I'm pretty sure it's an exclusive. They didn't really answer that. I'd need to look it up, but it looked awesome. Now, this next game, they said they wanted to make a surreal and wonderful game, and this is Dreams. Essentially, you have to move your controller to make your mark on the world, is what they said, and you make your own paintings, and then you can create your own worlds based off those, and piece together a whole environment. And they, you know, showed a bunch of stuff. They showed a pianist, they showed a polar bear and her cub playing, they showed insanely new worlds like space battles, undead zombies, just an insane amount of infinite worlds that you can create with this. It seems like the PlayStation 4 is really getting a lot of games like that, where they're just going to be huge sandbox titles. Awesome. Just awesome. Now, the next game, Firewatch. It's going to be an exclusive, and it says, it doesn't show you much aside from, you know, going through caves and all that, kind of going through an area. It's cel shady, it's colorful, animated, cartoony, and it looks a lot like Far Cry in a way, but really, you're just being guided by a mysterious woman who's on the other end of a walkie-talkie, and you have to figure out all these mysteries, and, you know, they don't really explain too much about the game, honestly. So, it looked cool, but at the same time, I don't really know that much about it. Now, after this, Adam Boyes came out. And what made me laugh was he said, this shit just never gets old, like when he came out on stage. And then he started talking about Destiny. I don't like Destiny that much. Anyways, he starts talking about Destiny, and I'll just trudge through this right here. He's saying, you know, this is the kind of game we had in mind for the PlayStation from the get-go, and he says that it was the biggest launch of a new game in franchise history, and, what I thought was funny was that he has such a potty mouth. Like, he was up there for quite a few games, and I'm just like, wow, like, I mean, it's kind of funny, but like, do you really want this guy? Oh, okay, I'm not in charge at Sony, but if you want to have this guy, you know, just demonstrate it, whatever, it's all good. But yeah, he has quite a potty mouth for an executive or a higher up who's, you know, supposed to take that stance. But anyways, for any Destiny fans, they did show the Taken King DLC. They described it as the next great adventure, but it was mostly a CGI trailer. And apparently there was a guy whose son you killed in a previous DLC. I haven't played any of the Destiny DLC. And then he's coming after you. It's coming out September 25th. And if you're on PlayStation, at least PlayStation 4, I don't know about PS3, but at least PlayStation 4, you're going to get new gear, a new multiplayer map, and new strike mission. And I think there's going to be some other little exclusive stuff. So next up, they then showed Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now, Syndicate takes place in London, and it has twins as the main characters. One of them is Evie, and the other one, his name is Jacob. And the whole time, he's pretty much saying, you don't want to fuck with Evie. You don't want to fuck with her. You don't want to mess with her. She will fuck you up. And the entire trailer is her just viciously, brutally destroying and killing people. And it shows very detailed use of several different weapons in the game. But there's also going to be I guess some DLC or a portion of the game called The Dreadful Crimes, which will be exclusive on PlayStation 4. Next up, they brought in some Square Enix stuff. Now this is, don't know if you could hear, you know, my Birdman hand rub, but this is where it gets good, okay? So first off, they had World of Final Fantasy, and they were talking about Final Fantasy. They said, you know, check this out right here, essentially. And it was Final Fantasy, but from the text at the beginning and the way it looked like a Kingdom Hearts game. And even, it's pretty much these cute little chibi characters who can transform into like adult sizes of themselves. But the whole look of it is essentially a Kingdom Hearts look. It's supposed to be kind of it looks like a mix between old and new Final Fantasy games. It's supposed to be the newest addition to the Final Fantasy series, obviously. But it's really going for an adorable look, like a chibi, cute look, and it's going to come out next year, 2016, on PS4 and PS Vita, so I'm happy the PS Vita is getting some love. But no, they made it very abundantly clear in the trailer, yes, we are going for a adorable look on this. Now this I couldn't believe. They start talking about this legendary game that left its mark on gamers, and then they start showing, this planet that we're really familiar with. Final Fantasy VII is officially getting a remake. And it's not the re-release. You all remember that from like either late last year or I think it was late last year. You all remember that atrocity where they announced that there was going to be the Final Fantasy VII release on PlayStation 4, and it was not a remake. It was not a remaster or anything like that. They just took the PC port of Final Fantasy VII, the one with the 1997, the old school graphics, and said that they were going to be releasing it as is on the PlayStation 4. Yeah, no, this was not it at all. This is a complete HD remaster, redone remake. Like, I have to stress it because I can't believe it, but no. They have the characters completely re-rendered out in PlayStation 4 form. They actually talk. Like, this is the true remake that people have been wanting, and they even said this has been brought due to popular demand. They said it was a very special treat, and it was a CGI trailer, but I don't even care. But they did say in the trailer, with the narration, they said they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made, and it's coming first to PS4. Now, that is the specific thing you need to listen to. They said it's coming first to PS4, so that heavily implies it will be a multi-platform game. We might see it on Xbox One, we might see it on PC. We'll probably see it on PC, judging from how Square Enix has done everything recently, but I can't believe it. I just yelled. Like, when that happened, it was... like, it's one of those things, you waited so long for, and then it happens, and you're just stunned. You're absolutely mind blown. But the funny thing is, I remember years ago, years and years ago, this is back in the PS2 days and even the upcoming PS3 days when gamers were asking for Final Fantasy VII Remake, Square Enix even came out and said, we will not remake Final Fantasy VII until we make a game that is better than Final Fantasy VII. So everyone was pretty much just like, oh, well, great, that pretty much means that they're never going to remake Final Fantasy VII. So either they're actually coming to their senses, or in their heads, they believe that they have released a Final Fantasy game that is better than Final Fantasy VII. Let's leave that to you all to debate. And after that, let's see. Okay, I thought I got these mixed up right here. So after that, they started talking about Revolver Digital. Revolver Digital had 4 new games to debut on the PlayStation 4. First off was Ronin. It's a side-scrolling ninja game. Looks neat. It looks bloody. Funny at the same time. This second one is Eith. Eith, maybe? It's E-I-T-H. That's how you spell it. It's a pixelated, really neon, bloody-looking Diablo. It looks fun. Mother Russia Bleeds. It looks like a very bloody Streets of Rage 2D style side-scrolling beat-em-up. And finally, Crossing Souls. It's like an old-school cartoon feel with a 2D pixel side-scroller look. So essentially, they're going to be releasing 4 different side-scroll 2D style games. Now, next up, they had something about Kickstarter. And they said, Kickstarter's helped out so many developers for different consoles and all that, and it's brought so many things back. And I wasn't expecting this. I put this in my wish list, and I legitimately think it wouldn't happen. But Shenmue 3 is happening. Yu Suzuki was there. He's shown footage of Shenmue 3, and it showed him in subtitles, talking about his issues with wanting to make Shenmue 3. And he said, wherever I go, and when people see me, they always ask, what happens after Shenmue 2? How is it going to continue? If you want someone who's completely obsessed with Shenmue and is just awesome to listen to, please check out Adam Koralik. I don't know the guy. I've never had any personal contact with him, but he makes some kick-ass videos, and he is... Man, you will learn so much about Shenmue from him. But yeah, essentially, he even called it out. I don't think he called out like it was going to happen here, but he did say that Shenmue makes the most sense on the PlayStation 4 compared to all the other systems, PC, Xbox One, and Wii U. He said the PS4 makes the most sense for Shenmue 3 to come out on, but they even said on there, finally, we can continue from Shenmue 2, and Shenmue will be the story you've waited for, and it's a full-on Shenmue experience you've dreamed of. The fate of Shenmue is in your hands now. That's what Yu Suzuki said. And my God, people in the audience looked like they had tears in their eyes. It was insane. For people that don't understand, this game was just... The first Shenmue came out on the Dreamcast in like 1999, 2000. They had sunk, I want to say, like, $70 million into this game? I might be getting that wrong, but it was quite a bit, which now seems like okay price for a game. That was insane. This is pre-millennium right here. And also, it had started development on the Saturn, and it moved over to the Dreamcast. Then Shenmue 2 was released, and it was released on the Dreamcast in Europe and Japan, but then it was sold out kind of in a dirty deed tactic to Xbox, so Shenmue 2 came over to the Xbox in the US. And then Shenmue has just been in limbo for so long, and I've never beat either of the Shenmue games. I did watch the Shenmue movie, and I never beat Shenmue 2, but I liked the Shenmue movie. I really liked Shenmue 2 when I played it. I did play it on Xbox, which people say is the inferior platform to play it on. But people say that essentially Shenmue 2 just left you on a blue ball cliffhanger, and you needed Shenmue 3. And it's been over a decade since there's even been any Shenmue 3 news, but it's a Kickstarter. It's up to us. We have to support it. But apparently, I got on Twitter right after this to see what was going on while everything was happening here. Kickstarter crashed within minutes of this announcement. For one, I'm probably going to back this. I'm going to see what tiers are available, but I do want to buy this. But hey, it would be cool if there's a remaster of Shenmue 1 and 2, because there are a lot of people on the PlayStation 4 who did not play Shenmue 1 or 2. Hey, Sony, please do that. Or Yu Suzuki, whoever might or might not be listening. But then, this guy, what was his name again? Adam. Yeah, Adam Boys. He comes out. And it's funny because he's just like, okay, well, we're going to recap. And he's like throwing off stuff off his little notebook. He's like, wow, we had The Last Guardian, Final Fantasy Remake, Shenmue 3, Kickstarter. Wow, we're getting a lot of stuff done. It was insane. And then he said there's going to be one more epic game that's coming out next week that we have to show you. And it was Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I thought it was going to be like BioShock or something like that, because it legitimately had like a BioShock look and feel and sound to it. But it shows Joker's corpse being burned. And it was crazy because I'd never seen this in first person, but they showed some first person gameplay. And at first I'm like, man, this game is coming out in 8 days. Why are they wasting their time showing this? But man, they showed the gameplay. It looks amazing. As I said, it's in first person, at least this portion looks trippy as fuck. And it looks just absolutely insane. And if you're on PlayStation 4, these Scarecrow Nightmare missions are exclusive. Next up, they came in and they said, we've been making several things reality with The Last Guardian, with Shenmue 3, and fresh off that reality, we're going to go into virtual reality now with Project Morpheus. They showed off several games in 3D styles with a huge TV, setup, well, the huge screen setup they had, in the middle of the stage and all that. They were showing them in kind of, 3D style so everyone could see, it was supposed to be coming at you, but it wasn't really coming at you. But then they even said, until now, many games have been solo experiences, and now you can actually co-op many of these virtual reality games with with at least 3 other people, so 4 players on your couch. Now, they didn't really demonstrate how this would be, but they did say that this is going to be on the showroom floor, so, thank you very much for that, Sony. It's not like I was interested in it at all, but that's all good. There's going to be a new multiplayer experience coming out, and it's called Riggs. I think it might be a free-to-play. I don't know. But it's a brand new IP. It's from Guerrilla Cambridge Studios, and it's going to be 3v3, and it's just like an intense MLG-style shooter game that's going to be using the Project Morpheus. And they did say you can try out all these things and the lines will be worth the wait. So let's hope they're right on that. Now, then they started talking about things that weren't games. It was still really interesting. First off, they were talking about Spotify and PlayStation Music, and they said that Spotify is a console exclusive to the PS4, in case you didn't know. I didn't know that. And it actually had the quickest launch adoption rate in PlayStation history with 5 million downloads. They also had PlayStation Vue, that is pronounced, well, not pronounced, but it is spelled V-U-E, not V-I-E-W. But it is essentially a live TV experience for the gamer, and it's funny because I was just talking with some friends about this like 2 nights ago, but it's going to be available, it's available in like 5 cities in the US right now. It's going to be launching in Los Angeles and San Francisco tonight, and in July, they're going to be offering a la carte channels, and that just essentially means you can pick and choose your channels. So they are actually saying that they are going to be the first service that will allow you to pick and choose and pay for what channels you want specifically without having to buy a bundle of any kind. And there's also, interestingly enough, going to be an exclusive Machinima channel, so that might be worth checking out. But they also said that PlayStation Plus members are going to get discounted rates, and there's going to be many more upcoming announcements in the future here. Now, they did announce that there is going to be a new PlayStation Activision partnership, and this is just crazy because they ripped this away from Microsoft, but they were, they were nice about it. They didn't even mention that or anything like that. In case you didn't know, pretty much ever since Modern Warfare 2 days, the Xbox has been the preferred platform for many Call of Duty games, mostly because most people who were playing Call of Duty were on the Xbox 360. And it had the biggest adoption rate. So that's why the Xbox 360, it got maps normally a month earlier for every game. That's going to stop now. Now it's flip-flopping. And now, starting with Black Ops 3, all of that treatment that was exclusive for the Xbox is now going to be on the PlayStation. So now the PlayStation is going to be getting their stuff a month early. But essentially, they said this is going to be for Call of Duty, obviously. And they said every year it somehow raises the bar yet again. And I just busted out laughing here. But then they showed Black Ops 3, and I'll get through this. I'm not a big Call of Duty fan. You all already know this, but it was the PlayStation debut, the live debut of this, and they're saying it's going to let you choose how you want to play at least the campaign, just like the first just like the second Black Ops. So there's going to be a 4-player co-op campaign on next gen. In case you're wondering why they said that, the co-op campaign is only going to be limited to 2 players on previous gen. And for anybody yelling at me saying, no, it's current gen, no. They said next gen, I am quoting them right there, but 8th generation of systems is what we're talking about. So they're saying how you equip yourself with weapons and armor and power-ups and all that is going to change how everything pans out. And I will say, at first it looked pretty good graphically, and I'm hoping with this partnership it will run smoother on the PlayStation 4 because it has been known with Ghosts and with Advanced Warfare that the PlayStation 4 had dipping frame rates on those games, while as the Xbox One had a low resolution, but it was a smooth 60 frames per second the whole time. So the gameplay started, and I'll be honest, at that point it stopped wowing me. I mean, you got to see the actions of all 4 of the players, not in the game itself, that's not going to happen, but you get to see it in the live demo they had. The weapons sounded very crisp, I will say that, and there's like these magic telekinesis type power things. It's definitely going to be a very fast-paced game, just like all the other Call of Duties, and there's going to be different selectable powers, but I don't know, man. I wasn't impressed with it. I really wasn't impressed with the campaign. Then they showed the Black Ops 3 multiplayer. David Vonderhaar came out to present this, and he said that it's going to feel unlike any Call of Duty before. And about a minute later, I'm just like, no, this looks like Black Ops 2 plus Advanced Warfare. It looked like, with everything, when they were showing the gameplay trailer and all that, it looked like they were almost trying to, steal off Destiny type trailers and all that with the angles they were doing everything. One thing I did notice that was different is that there's underwater gameplay in the multiplayer now, and you could actually shoot underwater. But this is where they did the other announcements where they said PlayStation owners will be the first to play the maps, that PlayStation owners are also going to get the multiplayer beta first, and that PlayStation is the new home of Call of Duty. So for anybody who's a big Call of Duty fan, PlayStation is the new home for it. PlayStation 4 specifically. So next up, they showed a big compilation of a bunch of games with some pretty kick-ass music, but some of the games I saw were Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection, Mad Max, the new Deus Ex, the new Batman, I believe the new MLB The Show. I flipped out when they showed Until Dawn. I do want to pick up that game. I love games like that. It looks fantastic. They briefly showed the PS Vita with a new Persona game, which made me happy, Amplitude. They showed Tearaway as well, which in the pre-show they were actually talking about a new Tearaway coming to PS4, which I was so disappointed they did not show this conference. So disappointed because that game is just such a treat. Like, when it comes on PS4, I'm picking it up. Not even thinking about it. And the new Ratchet & Clank game, which I think is like a Ratchet & Clank game based off the Ratchet & Clank movie that's based off the Ratchet & Clank games. Yeah, they did that. Anyways, and then after that, I thought they were going to show Star Wars Battlefront, and no. It was Disney Infinity 3.0. Now, apparently 3.0 is supposed to have Disney, Pixar, and Marvel characters, and there's going to be 2 packages where it's like scenarios and all that with characters and everything, like little things that you can pick up, the little toys. So there's going to be Star Wars Twilight of the Republic and Star Wars Rise Against the Empire, which I believe Twilight of the Republic covers the new trilogy, so 1 through 3, and Rise Against the Empire covers the original trilogy, which is episodes 4 through 6. Now, there's also going to be a limited edition Disney Infinity 3.0 starter pack that is exclusive for the PS4, and you are going to get the figures 1 month before they come out on any other platform. They then showed the Star Wars Rise Against the Empire playset. Okay. Boba Fett is going to be a character that you can get, and they said the only place you can play as Boba Fett before the holidays is through this limited edition starter pack on PlayStation. And after this, they actually showed the Star Wars game we were looking for, which was Star Wars Battlefront, coming out November 17th. They did mention survival. I didn't really understand it, but I guess they were just showing, you know, multiplayer, you have to survive and everything. But damn, I will say this game looks so good. This game looks so good. Now, I know it's been under heavy criticism and heavy scrutiny and under a lot of fire because they pretty much pulled a Forza Motorsport 5 on this. The previous entries in this game have many more features and have better deals than the new entry to this game. But to me, I'm probably going to hurt a few people. I never played the Star Wars Battlefront games. I really didn't. I know several people that were crazy about them. I just didn't play them, honestly. So to me, as a newcomer coming into it, it looks good, but I fully respect why a lot of people are pissed off about this. And I feel for you. I completely understand it. I'm not going to sit here and try and defend it or anything like that. But to me, as someone who hasn't played the other games, it looks fun. Now, they did cut up the live gameplay footage, just like the Fallout 4 reveal. So they weren't really playing it right there. And then I wasn't sure if the cutscenes they threw in were CGI or if they were rendered in-game. But I feel like they could have done a little better with it. But, you know, they wanted to be action and all that. I understand. Now, finally, they came out and they said, we're going to present to you all a small title which needs no introduction. They said it was only on PlayStation, and it was funny because it stayed on the only on PlayStation screen for what seemed like about a minute. And people were cheering, and they're cheering louder and louder because nobody knows what the hell this game is. People predicted what it was, but nobody knew what it was. So they thought, you know, the more they cheered, the faster they could get the game to show. And then it starts showing the gameplay. And it looked so damn good. And it was Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. It looked great. I myself, I have not played the Uncharted games, so I actually picked them up for very cheap on PS3. But since the Nathan Drake collection is coming out, I'm probably just going to pick up the Nathan Drake collection on PS4 and play through them that way. But I will say, it had a cutscene, everything seemed to be rendered in-game, and then when it transitioned from cutscene to gameplay, it was so seamless. It looked so good, you all. You really see the power of the PlayStation 4 right here. You really do. But then this is also where the problems came in. You see, what happened was Nathan Drake was just kind of standing there looking around for about a minute. And everyone was just like, whoa, yeah, like everyone's excited. And at first I was like, okay, well, maybe the controller's not working. Okay, well, it's been about 30 seconds. Maybe they're wanting to show people how good the game looks. I mean, that's a possibility. Then the screen cut to black, and then it said only on PlayStation, and they had to restart. It was funny, because it's like, the very last thing, one of the biggest titles they get screwed up on, but it had to end up getting restarted. So they restarted the demo, you see the only on PlayStation, you see the intro right there, and then once it transitions from cutscene to gameplay, you control Nathan Drake. Now, it seems like a very limited HUD because they want to do kind of a cinematic experience with this game and everything. Everything looked great. The game looked like it played very well, it played very smooth. Honestly, I thought the destruction was near perfect. I really did. And I couldn't get over the looks while watching this. I thought it was very impressive. Now, I didn't get super excited about it because, as I said, I did not play the Uncharted games. I did play Golden Abyss on Vita. I got a little bit into it. I thought it was a very good game, but I didn't play the Uncharted trilogy. But I will say this. I am disappointed that Naughty Dog did not follow tradition, where they do 3 games and then a racing game. Crash Bandicoot, they did Crash 1, 2, and 3, and then Crash Team Racing. The Jak and Daxter series, they did Jak and Daxter, then Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X Combat Racing. Uncharted, they did Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and now 4. Or technically, Nathan Drake Collection, I guess you can say, because that's going to come out earlier, but still, it would have been just hilarious and awesome, and they could have pulled it off if they did, like, an Uncharted racer of some kind. But I will say this, take this with a heavy grain of salt, because remember when Uncharted 3 premiered at E3, and then the game came out and it still looked good, but didn't look nearly as good? This happens with so many games, but Uncharted 3 was one of those titles that it was really notorious for that. I feel like the same thing will probably happen with Uncharted 4. But either way, it was a great looking game. It really was. Now that's really the end of the conference. After that, you know, they let people out and everything because they went about 2 minutes over their limit due to the fact that they had to restart Uncharted 4. But all in all, again, excellent conference from Sony. Really excellent conference. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. It was all entertaining, you know, even the stuff I didn't like, for example, the Disney Infinity stuff, they just briefly touched up on it. That was fine. They got a lot of information in with that too. The other game as well, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, I understand it's Call of Duty and that's a big thing. It's a big partnership. They had to show that there. I did want to see something from Final Fantasy Versus, or Final Fantasy, what, 15 is it? 15 or 16? I don't know the numbers. The game that was originally Final Fantasy 13 Versus, that original game, I wanted to see something from that. It would have been nice to see something from Kingdom Hearts because they showed Kingdom Hearts in the intro. I was very disappointed that they didn't show anything from Tearaway, the new Tearaway on PS4. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that's going to be a thing because that is a game that I feel like just needs so much recognition. It really does. But man, we got so much stuff. We got The Last Guardian. We got a new, beautiful looking game from Guerrilla Games. We got No Man's Sky, more from that. Some other new titles, you know, such as Dreams and Firewatch. Even Destiny got its own thing. And then we got a cute looking Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Shenmue 3? Are you kidding me? Man. This is one of the best E3s ever so far. This really is. Pre-E3, they had the Bethesda conference. They showed Fallout 4. Xbox, Microsoft did a kick-ass job. Sony did a kick-ass job with their conference. Nintendo, I don't know what they're going to do. But I really hope their conference is good tomorrow. Because this conference was just so fantastic. And this was an excellent Monday. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone. Let me know what you all think of the conference.